Hello, my name's Kay Marie Bryan, and I've come to talk to you about my journey from diagnosis of Variegate Porphyria to my recent achievement of completing the Great North Run in 2022. In October 2000, I was in hospital recovering from a rare cancer tumour, and my recovery from major surgery was not going to plan. In fact, it was completely the opposite. The consultant couldn't work out what was going on. I was deteriorating rapidly in front of their eyes, and it was at this point I remember the medical team coming to my bedside saying they were going to test me for something very rare, and it was unlikely I'd got it. I couldn't remember what it was called at that point. I gave blood, urine, and stool samples and waited some time for the results. I was in and out of consciousness, in severe abdominal pain, and the medications they were giving, as we've now learned, were not safe drugs. My diagnosis was made that I have Variegate Porphyria. I am the only one in my family up to that date to have it. As many of you may be aware, Variegate Porphyria is rare, and it was something I'd not heard of or come across in my nursing career. But looking back, it was something I was clearly suffering with for many years before my cancer. With this new diagnosis in mind, and with 2 young children, we went down the genetic route and were told that was 1 in 2 chance of them having Variegate Porphyria. Both my children, who are now adults and are here today, do have Variegate Porphyria. Unfortunately, my life with porphyria has not been easy. It's been very long and painful. I initially started on daily infusions of heme arginate 4 days every week, which continued for many months. Despite this tough regime, I was still suffering from frequent crisis attacks, resulting in lengthy stays in hospital. Gradually, as the months moved into years, my porphyria would improve and then deteriorate, and this was the pattern I followed. Yo-yoing in and out of crisis attacks. I became well known on the ward. I would be admitted as an emergency and gradually improve before being discharged home, then to be readmitted with the next crisis attack. This was my life for many years. I could never plan anything and miss many family events and countless special occasions. Variegate Porphyria can affect the skin and the gastrointestinal system. I have always suffered from abdominal pains and would say 98% of my attacks are presented this way. I am aware this is not the case for all Variegate Porphyria sufferers. As you will see in the photos of the screen, I am able to run outdoors as my skin is not greatly affected. As a means to receive my heme arginate treatment, I have had portacaths fitted in my upper chest. I have had in excess of 15 portacaths over the years. At times, I've had no alternative options but to have heme arginate infusions via the veins in my arm. This is such a painful experience. Due to this, my veins in my right arm have been damaged, which has left me with problems when I have blood tests. Life with Variegate Porphyria has not been easy at all. It robbed me of my nursing career for some 10 years as I was unable to work. However, with the correct maintenance treatment of heme arginate and with expert advice from consultants, I was able to rebuild my life slowly. I fought hard physically and psychologically and returned to nursing. When COVID-19 hit, I was dealt another blow. As I was classed as clinically vulnerable due to my health, I was unable to work. I started taking daily walks, as did most of the country during that time. And as the days moved into weeks, I increased my walking distance. And as the weeks turned into months, I started to gently run each day. I found I was enjoying running, and I was able to build this up slowly and gradually. It was at this point I embarked on my biggest challenge since learning to re-walk after a porphyria crisis attack. This attack was one of my worst. I was in hospital for 6 weeks unable to walk as I temporarily lost all feelings and movements in my legs. When I left the hospital, I had a considerable amount of muscle wastage and was sent home in a wheelchair and a Zimmer frame to aid my walking in the house. I worked hard with the physiotherapist to regain muscle and strength. Fast forward a few years, my porphyria attacks have decreased and settled overall, and I find myself entering the Great North Run. This is a half marathon race, 13.1 miles, a race from Newcastle upon Tyne city centre out to South Shields on the coast. It was fitting and appropriate to run for the British Porphyria Association. I took medical advice from my consultant regarding my training, as well as being committed to a comprehensive training programme. My training wasn't easy. At times, I didn't want to get out of bed at 6 a.m. and go for a run before the heat of the day, or stay up and go running in the evenings. But I was determined that I would run every step of the Great North Run. This was my gut drive, regardless of my finish time. The run went fantastically. The weather was perfect, the atmosphere amazing, and I can proudly say I not only completed the Great North Run by running every step of the way, but I ran it in an amazing time of 2 hours and 12 minutes. On top of this amazing achievement, I also raised just shy of £1,000. I was shocked by the generosity of family, friends, and colleagues who gave so generously. The message I want to give here really is never give up. Variegate Porphyria tried to take my life so many times, but I was determined and remain determined that porphyria is part of my life and it is not going to limit my life more than it needs to. I will leave with one more thing I need to share with you. I have just applied for the London Marathon 2024. So who knows, you might be seeing this running vest on the streets of London next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Do you want to just stay here a minute? Thank you so much for talking and also for the amazing fundraising. You are an inspiration, honestly. Would anybody like to ask Kay anything? Kay's going to be here all day and we've got lots of chances for informal chats, so do connect. But thank you so much for sharing your story. It's really impactful to hear and well done. Okay.